Hi, everyone. It is no surprise that veterans make great employees. Military personnel are often cross trained in many different skills and have different experiences that make them a dynamic candidate for employers. But sometimes it's hard to articulate the skills we've learned while in service. So today we're going to talk about how to make these skills more visible through a resume. So, a quick introduction, my name is Maria Hamill, and I am the Learning Programs Coordinator with Veterans Upward Bound. And if you have any questions about today's workshop or workshops going forward, please shoot me an email with your questions or concerns. And my email is here on the screen. So, today we're going to go over some resume building basics, some tips for including your military experience, and then different resources when it comes to resume building. So this is just a quick basic resume format. I want to note that HR professionals and other recruiters and such often are only looking at your resume for about 10 to 30 seconds, and they may have thousands to hundreds of different resumes that come across their desk. So we want to make sure that your resume is really standing out amongst all of those. I also want to note that this is just a basic resume format. You don't have to follow this type of resume. It's really up to you on how to show your different experiences and show your different skills on a personal basis. But this is just kind of a basic overview, and please feel free to switch it up how you'd like. So we will go over a resume in more detail, but this is the format. First, you're going to have your full name, address, contact information. You'll next have an objective and a summary of qualifications. You want to include your employment history, which includes the different locations of your employment, dates of employment, and summary of the position and your accomplishments. Your education and training, and then other relevant details such as different skills that maybe you weren't able to name in the sections above. So as promised, here is a resume example, and then we're going to break it down by each of those sections in the format and talk a little bit more about them. So first up is including your contact information. So you can see that John Grant has put his name, his address, his email address, and his phone number. Personally, I like to just put the city and state that I am working out of or live in. However, you can put your full address. That's up to you. And you can see that John Grant is really big and one of the biggest fonts on the whole resume. So that's the main focal point is making sure that whoever is looking at your resume knows that it's yours. Next is the objective and summary of qualifications. So an objective is just a few sentences of the job you are looking for or applying for and a summary of what makes you qualified for that position. So you can see in John Grant's resume that he has experience in manufacturing. And then he goes on to list his different skills such as dedication, creativity. It just kind of sums him up as a person. It's the best way I can explain an objective. The summary of qualifications is also very similar to that, but is 3 to 6 lines of highlighting your experience, qualifications, skills, etc. So in John Grant's example, he goes on to mention that he has 20 years of experience in his field. He has lots of different strengths when it comes to the MRP software, and then he also goes on to explain that he is proficient in Microsoft Word, Outlook, Excel, etc. So this is also kind of just like a little bit more in depth than the objective of their different skills and qualifications as a person in the workforce. Next is your employment history. So it kind of seem a little similar to the summary of qualifications and employment history, but employment history, we're just talking specifically just about your time at that company or that position. So Underneath the employment history on your resume, you're going to want to make sure that you're putting your current or previous position title and company, the date ranges you have worked there, and then a few lines about the position and your accomplishments within that position. So in John Grant's example, you can see that he put his position title, which is senior buyer, if you see where my mouse is on the screen here. He then put the company that he worked for, which is Expediter Fremont Network Power. That's the company name. He then put the city and state that the company or the position that he held was in. That's up to you if you want to put that. I typically have not seen that in the past, but you can if you like. And then he put the date ranges that he worked, which was 2011 to present. You could also put 2011 to current. They both mean the same thing. And then underneath the position title, company, and date ranges worked, he included a few lines about the position. So he's talking about that he managed the purchasing and he did some consulting and then purchased products from certain areas of the country or of the world. It looks like he did not put any accomplishments that he had during that position, but this would be a great place to put that for his resume. Lastly is any education and training that you may have. This is a great place to put any of your military experience as well, and we'll kind of go into that a little bit more in a moment. All right, continuing on to just some resume basics overall. So the length of your resume should be about 1 to 2 pages according to HR professionals. When it comes to your resume, you want to make sure that's either concise to 1 page or 2 pages. Typically HR professionals don't want to see 1 to 1.5 pages. Or I'm sorry, they don't want to see 1.5 pages. They either want to see 1 page or 2 pages. So try to either, which brings me to the next point, keep it simple or add more on if you need to make it to 2 full pages. Overall, but make it simple when it comes to your languages. You don't want to be putting whole paragraph long of your experience there, or maybe like a story. That's something that you talk about more in the interview rather than just on a resume. Keep it simple and also keep it consistent. So if you had bolded the heading of, let's say, your education experience, you also are going to want to bold the heading of your employment experience. So keeping that consistent. This next point is a little bit of a nuance, but I think it's very important. Make sure that you're saving your resume correctly. So when HR professionals get hundreds to thousands of different resumes per day, week, month, they are taking a look at lots of different resumes and opening up lots of different resume attachments, such as like Word or PDFs. And oftentimes people are naming that resume document resume 2021. However, the HR professional may be getting hundreds of those and they're all saying resume 2021. So let's make your resume document specific to you. So for example, I could put my resume as resume 2021, or I could put my resume as Maria Hamill, resume 2021. So there's no confusion from the HR professional that they're looking at my resume. Also make sure that you're keeping your resume updated. So it's easy to forget when you're getting to updating your resume before you're applying for a job, like what did I do during that position that I just held? What kind of accomplishments did I do? It's easier to, when you're going to apply for a job, to have all of that together rather than scrambling last minute. So try to keep your resume as updated as much as possible. Maybe every couple months, go back into your resume and update anything that has happened in those past couple months. Also make sure that you're tailoring your resume to the job description. What I mean by that is making sure that if you're applying for like an HR position, then you're highlighting some of your HR experience that you've had instead of talking about your time working at as a server. Maybe that's not as important to talk about working as a server as compared to working at using your experience as an HR professional. So try to tailor your resume to the job description. Which also brings me to my next point as do not lie about your experience. So if you don't have experience in HR, don't make up lies that you do have experience. So the worst thing that can happen is to be caught in your lie when you're at an interview, or for them to find out some other way. Lastly, make sure you're checking your spelling and your grammar. If an HR professional is between you and another person, and let's say you spelled a couple things wrong or your grammar is incorrect on your resume, it could be that that HR professional could be choosing another person over you. So let's make sure that our spelling and grammar is correct. All right, next up is tips for including your military experience into your resume. So make sure anywhere in your resume, if you can quantify your achievements, that is the best thing that you can do. So for example, let's say you led troops and supervised equipment. Okay, that's great, but it sounds a lot more concise and a lot more better if you say you led 150 troops and supervised $10 million worth of equipment. They're both true statements, they're both correct statements, and they both are not lies, but it does make it more concise, and it makes it more more geared towards the position if you use some numbers to quantify your achievements. So anywhere in your resume that you can do that is for the better. Also, you can list any of your awards, decorations, or security clearances in your resume. This is a great place to put that, and we'll go over kind of where in a resume that you would put that in a next example. Also, you can list your volunteer experience either in or out of the military. And a very important part to note is that you can leave some things out. When it comes to awards and decorations, there's often a lot of decorations and awards that an individual will receive, but not all of them pertain to the job that you're applying for. So it's okay to leave some things out, because there's a lot of information, and us as people, we go through a lot of different experiences and have a lot of different accomplishments. However, we want to tailor it to the position that we're applying for, and make it so it's more concise and simple. And the very last part of tips for including your military experience, and sometimes often the hardest part, is translating everything into civilian terms. So I have two examples on the screen here of translating one sentence or one title into a civilian terms. So this first sentence here, you can see there's a lot of military jargon, and it's talking about, planning and executing different logistics and such, which is great. However, we want to change everything into civilian terms so it's easy to read for a resume. So this has been translated into supervised staff of 15 people, planned and coordinated operations conducted by various subordinate units within our division. Both sentences mean the same exact thing, it's just translating it into civilian terms. The next example is changing it from a title from officer in charge to managed. They both mean the same thing, we're just changing it into civilian terms. In this often, translating everything into civilian terms can be very difficult. However, I did find a website that helps you translate your military experience into civilian terms. So this is resumeengine.org, and you can choose the different branch that you are in. You will need to sign up or log in to this website, but it can help you translate everything over. So I would check it out if that's something that you're interested in. I will also include that link in the directions page of this workshop as well. All right, so I want to go over an example of a military or a prior military resume. So we talked about a lot about including your military experience into your resume, but often it's like, okay, but where do I put it in my resume? So let's just go down this list of this example. And this example isn't the end all be all, it's not like the very best resume either. It's just whatever worked for this person as Marsha Johnson. It worked best for her. So let's go down that. All right, starting at the top, we have her name, address, phone number, and email address. She included her summary of qualifications here. She then went on to explain her professional experience or her employment history. This is where she included her time in the military through the Marine Corps. You can see that it has the company or Marine Corps, the location, and then her title that she had and the dates that she worked there. I think she did a really good job of quantifying her different experiences. So she supervised more than 50 coworkers. She had more than 20 objectives in a 6-month period. So anywhere that you can quantify your experience is the best. She then went on to include some additional skills, such as spoken languages that she has, different software skills. This is a really good area that to put anything such as like languages that you speak that maybe you weren't able to include anywhere else in your resume. So this including additional skills really worked for her. She also put her education experience down here. So it looks like she went to Syracuse University. However, you can put any educational experience that you have through the military also in this area of your resume. So it's often, we went over a lot here. There's a lot of rules when it comes to resume and a lot of also kind of gray area when it comes to resume building about, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. So I have included some resources to get a hold of different individuals to help you go over your resume if you need some one-on-one help. West Michigan Works, their military resources, has some individuals that can help you go over your resume. They'll sit down and take a look at it with you and talk about your different experiences. So I will include the phone number for that in the directions page. Also, if you are a participant of Veterans Upward Bound, you do have access to the GVSU Career Center. They are also able to help you with your resume building and taking a look one-on-one of your resume and making suggestions for that. I will also include their contact information in the directions page. Lastly, I wanted to give a resume template of kind of just like some bare bones of a resume. So if you're not even sure where to start or just need some help getting started, I will include that resume template so you can take a look at that. As always, if you have any questions or concerns or want to talk more about resume building or have questions about that, please feel free to contact us at Veterans Upward Bound. I have included our phone number, our email address, as well as the website, our website link. Thank you, and I hope this was helpful, and look forward to seeing you next month.